All right, let's talk about something that freaks a lot of us out. Mold. You find that unexpected patch of discoloration in a corner, maybe behind some furniture. It's a super common concern, but the way we usually react to it, well, it might be completely backwards.
Okay, so let's just get right to it. When people see mold, especially if it's dark, this is almost always the first thing that pops into their heads. I mean, years of scary headlines have basically trained us to see the color black and immediately think toxic. But what if I told you that by focusing on this question, you're missing the real story entirely?
Yep, you've heard me. It's the wrong question. By starting with the color, we're kicking off our investigation from a place of fear, not facts. A professional inspector, on the other hand, looks at this problem in a totally different way. And today, we're going to learn to think just like they do.
So, let's start by giving that initial feeling a name, the color panic. It's that moment of discovery, that jolt of, whoa, what is that? It's a completely natural reaction, but it can send us down a really unhelpful rabbit hole.
So picture this. You see it. Maybe it's a bunch of black spots on the wall behind your bed or some greenish fuzz on a window frame. Your mind just starts racing, right? You're trying to figure out what it is based on how it looks. Is it harmful? Is this the bad kind everyone talks about? We're just wired to judge by appearances, and when it comes to mold, that instinct can be seriously misleading.
So now, let's completely shift our perspective. What if we stop seeing color as a label for danger, and instead reframe it as something way more useful, the very first clue in an investigation? This is how we move from panic to actually solving the problem.
And this, right here, is the absolute key. For an expert, the color of mold doesn't scream danger level. It whispers clues about the environment that let it grow in the first place. It's like a breadcrumb trail that leads you right back to the real culprit, moisture.
Okay, so check this out. This little guide shows you how to translate color into actual information. You see that black or dark green growth? Instead of panicking, an inspector thinks, okay, we've got persistent moisture here. They immediately start looking for an ongoing source of condensation, maybe a cold wall behind a big piece of furniture. Greenish growth, that often points to just generally high humidity, maybe with some organic dust it can feed on. And that white kind of fluffy stuff could be the very beginning of mold, sure, but it could also just be mineral deposits from water seeping through the brickwork. See, the color gives you a hypothesis about the water.
All right, here's a fantastic curveball for you and a perfect example of why you can't judge a book by its cover. We've all seen this, right? That stubborn pinkish film that shows up on shower grout or around the drain. You probably scrub it away thinking it's some kind of mold, but it's actually something else entirely. And get this, it's not a fungus at all. It's a bacterium. It's called Serratia marcescens, and it absolutely loves the exact conditions in your shower, constant moisture and a steady diet of soap scum. So in this great little twist, even when it's not mold, it is still telling you the exact same thing. This surface is staying wet for way too long.
This quote just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? Use the color as your first piece of evidence, your first lead in the mystery, but never ever let it be the final answer. It's just the beginning of the story.
So, if color is only a clue, what are we missing? Let's talk about everything that a simple glance can never tell you, no matter how closely you look.
Think about it. Just by looking at a stain, you have no way of knowing if it's actively growing right now or if it's just a leftover from a leak that was fixed ages ago. It definitely can't show you the damage that might be spreading inside the wall. It won't tell you if the plasterboard underneath is turning to mush. And, most importantly, it gives you zero guarantee that the source of the water has actually been stopped. These are the critical questions, and color has no answers for them. And this brings us to the final and I think most important section. How do we get beyond the color and figure out what's really going on? This is the framework that leads to a real solution, not just a quick cover-up. A real assessment has to be holistic. It's about taking that initial clue, the color, and combining it with the story of the building itself. You have to look at the symptom within the context of the entire system. So, what does that actually look like? Well, it means asking way better questions. Is the surface literally damp to the touch? What's the humidity in here? Is the spot in a known cold corner of a room? Does this stuff only show up in the winter? How good is the ventilation in this space? And are there any building performance issues, like thermal bridges, which are basically weak spots in your insulation that make the wall inside colder and a magnet for condensation? All of these questions together build a complete picture that points you directly to the source of the problem. And that leads us to the ultimate takeaway from all of this. You can clean a stain 100 times, but if you don't stop the moisture that's causing it, it is always going to come back.
Mold is just the symptom. The water is the disease. The only real solution is to treat the disease.
So the next time you see a patch of mold, I want you to resist that color panic. Just take a breath. And instead, I want you to ask yourself this question. It changes everything. It shifts you from being a passive victim to an active detective. You found the first clue, now the real work can begin.